He was born in Rosario, Argentina, on June 24, 1987, a child, like any other, small, silent, with his gaze always lowered, and a ball glued to his feet. From a very young age, there was something different about Lionel. He didn't talk much. He didn't seek the center of attention. But when the ball rolled, the world disappeared. Only he remained, and the ball. His grandmother, Celia, was the first to see him. She took him to games. She encouraged him. She defended him. She called him my little champion. Even though he was barely 5 years old, while the other children ran like crazy, Messi dodged them as if it were a game of chess. He dribbled, assisted, and scored goals with a calmness that seemed out of this world. But at 7 years old, the dream began to falter. Lionel didn't grow like the others. Every year that passed, the others grew taller, stronger, and he remained the same. Something wasn't right, and the doctors confirmed it. Growth hormone deficiency, a diagnosis that would change everything. His working-class family couldn't afford the treatment. Each injection cost hundreds of dollars a month. It was too much for parents who could barely support their household. And there he was, an 8-year-old boy with a heart bigger than his body, and a dream that was beginning to crumble. Argentine clubs admired him, but no one wanted to pay for the treatment. No one bet on him. Too much risk, too fragile, too small. But the ball was still at his feet, and he kept dreaming. Until one day, an opportunity crossed the ocean. A club on the other side of the world was interested in that tiny boy from Rosario. A club that saw beyond his size. A club that bet on his talent, not his body. FC Barcelona. And then, at just 13 years old, Lionel Messi left everything behind. His city, his friends, his grandmother Celia, his entire childhood. For one thing, one last chance to fulfill his dream.
He arrived in Barcelona with a suitcase and a huge dream that barely fit inside. He was only 13 years old, and his body still looked like that of a 9-year-old. But inside him was a fire that not even science could explain. The diagnosis was clear: growth hormone deficiency, a problem that affected not only his height, but also his muscle development, his endurance, his strength. In short, everything a soccer player needs. Every night, Lionel had to inject himself into his legs himself. A child sticking himself with a needle every 24 hours. To keep the possibility of playing soccer alive, it hurt, physically and emotionally. He couldn't live like other kids. He couldn't grow like them. And to top it all off, he had to prove every day that he was worth it. Because in Europe, soccer is a jungle. There is no mercy. There's no place for the weak. And he was the most fragile of all. But there was one thing no one could measure: his determination. While others complained about training, he demanded more. While others dreamed of being famous, he dreamed of playing. Because for Messi, soccer wasn't a sport. It was his salvation. He had left his family, his country, his grandmother Celia, who would die shortly after without seeing him succeed. That loss was a deep wound, and since then, every time Messi points to the sky after a goal, it's no coincidence. It's a silent tribute to the woman who believed in him when no one else did. Despite everything, Lionel kept training, growing millimeter by millimeter, literally and emotionally. The treatment worked. His body began to respond, and with each drop of hormone injected, his hope grew as well. In silence, no scandals, no headlines, just work, discipline, faith. He was ready to show the world that size doesn't determine destiny.
He was just 14 years old when the club that took him in, FC Barcelona, had to make a brutal decision. Was it worth investing in this Argentinian boy? In someone so fragile, so quiet, so different? The hormone treatment was expensive, too expensive, and the club wasn't sure it wanted to continue paying. Lionel Messi's future hung by a thread. His desperate father visited offices, knocked on doors, begged for an answer. But in football, emotions don't matter, only numbers. Until one man changed his destiny, a Barca director, who saw something in Messi that no one else saw. And that same day, on a paper napkin, they signed Lionel Messi's first contract. A napkin, a simple sheet of paper stained with ink, contained the beginnings of a legend. That was the moment the dream stopped being an illusion and became destiny. But it still wasn't easy. He was alone, in a foreign country, with a language that wasn't his own, without his mother or his siblings. He lived in fear. He ate in fear. He played in fear. But he never stopped playing, because on the field, the fear disappeared, and that other Messi appeared. The one who feared nothing, the one who danced among defenders, the one who turned the ball into poetry. Every time he touched the ball, the coaches knew, this kid isn't normal. He didn't talk much, he didn't smile much, but when he played, the world stopped. And so, little by little, Messi earned his place, not with words, but with talent, with courage, with magic. He had survived the unthinkable. Now came the hardest part, becoming a legend.